Okay, so building off of the divided surface with intersections, we're going to talk about how to have a little more control over the paneling. In some earlier tutorials, we looked at things like a floating panel where it's being projected directly from the base, meaning so when this got loaded in versus something like this where an adaptive point or a point was set on a work plane and rose up. So let's look at the two of these, and then we're going to look at a third version. So I've loaded both of those in. And if we were to take this one right here and say we have let's say the projected one. Remember when it was projecting, let's flip it over so it's projecting up. What we're seeing is its gaps, right? Because it's just taking the size of the grid at where it is, projecting up, and so you get spaces, right? That was the one where we just made a form here and projected it up, had it float. You can see where even the object I'm doing is 5 feet up, but the base is -4, so it's just being held up off. But now if we do the one where the point was set off, meaning it's always projecting to the normal of the curve, so shooting straight out, that was the one where we get, this is the responsive one, all the seams will be closed because they're all projecting off, right? And so, okay, that's great. But a great number of you in class, let's say over half of you, were looking at something where you wanted this to float. You wanted this to always maintain level, right, for one reason or another, whether this is terracing in the landscape or whether this is panels floating, that you always wanted to maintain level. And so what I wanted to look at is something that has a little bit more control in it. So this is a panel base. What I've done is I've made one of the corners important. So I just took what happened to be the third corner. I think this was when it came in 1, 2, 3, and 4, or here's 2, I guess. So this corner is going to control where the box comes in. But this is what's important, is that I set guides the same way that we set points on the work plane here, and I extruded up a height. I just put this point 100 feet up, and I put another point 100 feet down. And then that's where I have the reference line. So I'm going to come through and build this. I also offset it in, that way I could have what could be a frame. But what I want you to see is there's this interesting idea that one point is controlling all of its height. And then what I also did is say, I want this to be global Z and then host XY. So all of these are being controlled by global Z. This is what's going to keep it kind of going up and down. So let's look at how that works. So if I grab this one and say, there we go. Ooh. Yeah. So now all of a sudden we're getting boxes that are responding to the size of the thing, but always lifting straight up or straight down. But they're always gauged on one point. So in essence, it's preferencing one corner as it does this. Okay. We're going to go through and build that and show how we can actually make that work on this one too. So we're getting it perfectly square the way we want. Again, we can come back through and move these lines, the reference lines, and it would coordinate. So let's go back into, just tap in, go back to this file. And I'm just going to delete all this and rebuild it, and we'll talk about how it's done. All right, so we're starting with what would be a generic model pattern based, and we're going to do some things that we've done before. First, I'm going to set points. Messed up. I want it on there. SW, right on there. SW, right on there. Now, I'm only doing 3 of the corners because one of them is, it itself is going to be the controlling factor. So I can grab those points, filter, apply, and I want those up 100 feet. That's seems absurd, but I don't understand why. Now I'm going to set again the same thing. And I'm going to grab these three. And go minus 100. Okay, zoom out. And I've got a whole bunch of here, and they should be reacting, right? Okay. I'm going to go reference line, make sure my 3D snaps on. I'm going to go from one to the other, from one, and one to the other. What I've done is I've created guidelines. Think of it as a drawer. These are the rails that things are going to slide up and down on. And just from my own sake, I'm going to lift this one up a little bit because this is the one that's important to us, and I want to be able to see them separately. Now, this is a really nice trick. This whole thing about intersections. I'm going to just drop a point on each one of these, right? And in the past, we grabbed that point and we've used the controls over here to either say a certain distance or not. But this is a more parametric way of thinking. I'm going to grab that point and I'm going to say host by intersection, and then I can grab that horizontal plane. I grab this, host by intersection, again that plane, host by intersection, grab that plane. This is what gives us all the control. Wherever this goes, you know, I've got 100 foot of change that could happen that I'm still reacting to. So now we're going to do the same thing we've always done, but just build it off these points instead of the other ones. There's an easy way to say it. I'm going to go reference line, point, point, and point to point. So now these are the ones I'm using, correct? I'm going to grab a point and go 1, 2, because I want some offset. I usually want like frame thickness or something. I'm going to make that go to the other end. Make that go to the other end. Now I can grab all of them. And I've already set up some parameters. I'm going to say segment length, and I've already done the frame thickness, but this is just naming that like we always have. And then I can control that frame thickness that's coming off there. And I go reference line again, and I go 1, 2, 1, 2, and I'm going to put another series of points on here. And again, I'm going to make sure that these two are going in the correct direction so that I can use the same parameter on all of them. And again, I'm going to go back to segment length, and I'm going to tell it the same frame. Now I have the same frame thickness going offset in all corners. I can go reference line and go 1, 2, 3, 4, and back. Now, create form. And I want that thickness controlled by a parameter thickness. All right, that's what we did. Now, there was the important part. I want to grab each one of these, and I need to make sure, because it doesn't start off, it starts on this one. You got to go to global Z, then host XY. Apply. Save. Put that in, and that's how I got it. Shouldn't change, yeah. And that's how I got those to work. We're going to do another version for the walls in the next tutorial. We can also see how this same box will work. Now, what's interesting is, you know, I had that thickness, right? I had the frame thickness on my individual unit. Remember, like, I think it's, we go in, you know, that was the frame thickness here. Now, this is what's interesting is I can still come back in, and if I want, maybe I want a gap of frame thickness in some of them, but I want it tighter in others, I can come in and say, okay, this is my level floating box, right? So let me click this one really quick. This is what I did. That was the one that it came in with. I can right click on it and say duplicate, and I'm going to say no gap. I'm going to double click on that one. I'm going to set my frame was my frame to 0. Okay. Now I can come back in, grab this one, and I should have another one down here that's no gap. All right. Now all of a sudden, getting some unique controls on what's happening with a hillside. You know, we could even come back with the thickness and extrude the thickness thicker to what we want. We could still go into the plan and actually still change all these things based on the intersections we want. Okay, so really useful.